Hello and welcome to another TNC opposition preview. Last time out, just in case you needed reminding, we got beat comfortably by Watford. It was a horrible loss and hopefully we can turn things around, but it's not going to be easy because this Saturday we are up against Everton. Only Everton at Goodison Park, and who better to bring all of the Everton insights than Super Ped from Toffee TV. Ped, 3 wins and a draw for you so far this season. How are you feeling? How is everything in the Everton world?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's been a bit of a strange few months. Obviously, we lost Carlo Ancelotti to Real Madrid. I mean, you know, when you finish 10th in the Premier League and lose your manager to Real Madrid, something has to be very strange in the world. We replaced him with obviously a Liverpool legend, which made the world even more stranger. But we've had a decent start to the season, I think, and most people are satisfied, I think, so far with what we've seen. Obviously, coming off the back of a defeat at Aston Villa, but I think most people are satisfied. There's a lot going on at Everton at the moment, just under the surface. But I think most people are okay and looking forward to the game on Saturday.
There is a lot going on. We are going to open up the Rafa Benitez box and the Carlo Ancelotti box as well. So apologies in advance and looking forward to getting the full details from you. You've mentioned there the loss to Villa. What went wrong? Can the Yellows hurt you in the same way they did?
Well, I mean, listen, I don't know whether Norwich have got as good a players as Aston Villa have. And of course, Aston Villa are at home. But we had players missing on Saturday, some of our best players. Jordan Pickford, of course, England's #1. Seamus Coleman at right back. Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And, you know, they are really, really important players for us. And it looks like Luca Dean is a bit of a doubt for the game as well. So you can massively capitalise on that. If we have all those players missing, that's half a team. And they, you know, they are as well. What I would say is that we don't have a very good backup right back, and we don't have a backup left back, as in a specialised left back at the club. So the players will be filling in. In fact, Ben Godfrey might play left back on Saturday if it comes to it, or he might play right back. So this would be an excellent time for Norwich to play Everton, looking for that first win, obviously.
Interesting, and I must say, very, very good to hear indeed. And Ben Godfrey, left or right back, sounds like something that the Norwich fans will certainly appreciate. So thank you in advance. Who should we be looking out for, Ped? Because I know you said a lot of players are injured, but of course you have got Mr. Gray, who is absolutely smashing it at the moment. Is he your main threat, or is there anyone else we need to be cautious of?
I think at the moment, obviously with players being out, Damari Gray has done really, really well for us. Obviously scored in our last home game, scored 3 times this season already, providing assists, and has done really, really well. Has given us that little bit of extra pace and directness that I think we'd missed. Him and Andros Townsend were quite surprising signings in the summer, but both of them have done really well, to be honest. I've been really surprised at how well certainly Andros Townsend has done coming in on a free transfer. So I think at the moment they're 2 players who've been really consistent so far this season. And I think, you know, when you are struggling for players and struggling for goals, that those 2 have been so important to us this season so far. So I think them 2 certainly will be Townsend. I think people will be surprised at how hard he works and how important he is for the team. But Damari Gray, his goals and certainly his attacking prowess will be hopefully on show on Saturday.
So it's so good that you're missing some key players, but it's so bad at the same time because our weakness is out wide. You know, players coming at us down the wing, cutting it back, deflection, tap in, you know, some awful defending. So I'm seriously worried about those 2 players. And Andros Townsend, I totally agree with you. He's definitely done well so far for Everton this season. Slight gear change now, Ped. I really want to talk about Rafa Benitez, your new best friend, because I cannot fathom or imagine a world where Paul Lambert goes to Ipswich and then somehow comes back to Norwich again. And I must admit, maybe I'm just too emotional, too sentimental, but you've burnt the bridge for me. You ain't coming back to Norwich ever again. How does it feel? And how long is it going to take Rafa Benitez to impress the Everton fans?
I'll be honest, I wanted him before Carlo Ancelotti, so it wasn't an issue for me at all. We've been, in the last few years, we've gone through far too many managers for this to be any kind of emotional hardship for me at all. That's not the same for everybody, of course. But the real problem we've got is when things aren't going right, it's very, very easy then to have a go at someone who you feel like you can have a real go against and find all his faults, because his faults are he was the manager of our rival. He was massively successful. He won a Champions League with them. So it's very easy. He's going to find it difficult to get all that support behind him. He's never going to be universally loved. He mightn't find that he's loved at all openly. Secretly, he might be. I particularly like him. I like his style. I like the way he does things. I like how he speaks to the press. I like a lot of things about him. But it is so easy when things are going wrong to just have a go at him. And Everton have to be strong with that as well, because all football clubs go through tough periods unless they are the top four. And we're not top four, so we will go through tough periods. And it's about being strong. It's about backing them. It's about being supportive. And it's about the manager also coming out and understanding the tone of the fans as well. And I think so far he's done that really, really well. So I have no problem. He's been away from Liverpool long enough. He has lived on Merseyside for basically since he was the Liverpool manager. He's never moved away. So he understands, I think, the mentality of people from Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's not a bad thing having like a guy who understands the others. You know, we all like to put ourselves out there and think we're all, whiter than white. But it's nice having a fella, I think, sometimes who knows what your weaknesses is, so he can correct those weaknesses. Yeah. So I'm all right with him. Fine. I've got no problem with Rafa Benitez. But as I said, when there are sticky periods, it's going to be interesting how people react to that, and also whether people who do like him, get behind him and don't just go silent because it's not the right, it's not seen as the right thing to do to back Rafa Benitez. But certainly we've got no problem with him, and certainly on our channel we just want the best for Everton. And if he's winning games of football, then we're with him all the way.
I think the positive, it's great to listen to that, and it's so good that you've managed to take the emotion out of it, Ped. I guess the thing is with Rafa is he's not an absolutely ginormous step down from Ancelotti, in my opinion. He was at Newcastle with barely any budget, did really well there, considering that he had his hands tied in pretty much all departments. Speaking about Ancelotti, I want to ask you about your ambitions for this season, Ped, not just yours, but also the club's. Is this a transition season for Everton? Is this a season that you can just hold your hands up and say, well, you know what, Rafa's here, so it's kind of just a botch it sort of affair, or do you expect more from your boys?
No, I think there has to be an element of realism that has to come back to Everton Football Club. For the last 5 or 6 years, we've been trading on the fact that we've got a owner with a lot of money, who has puffed out his chest on many occasions and said what he wants to do. And quite obviously, we're not capable of doing that. We just aren't. The top four are a million miles away. Doesn't matter how much money we spent, and we have wasted so much money. It's incredible. But they are so far ahead of us that I think we do need a period of going back to basics.
Yeah.
And I think this year has been that. We are right up to the limit on FFP. We haven't been able to buy players. The owner refuses to break, the rules, which is fine. And I think there has to be a realism in football now. I think you've seen it at your club over the last couple of years. You have to cut your cloth accordingly, because, listen, we've just let James Rodriguez go to a club in, the Middle East, where he was on like £200,000 at Everton for a player that has only played half the amount of games. And don't get me wrong, he's one of the best footballers I've ever seen play for my club. But how can you justify paying someone, 10 to 12 million pound a year that you may get like 10 assists from and maybe like 6 or 7 goals from?
Yeah.
It doesn't add up anymore. And we're, with COVID and everything, I think we've hit a wall now, and Everton have to go away and we have to think about what we're doing strategically, and go back to what used to make us the club we were. And we've got a stadium on the horizon as well, in just under 3 years.
Looks class, by the way.
And we have to have everything in the right. We have to be a club that doesn't just throw money and go, oh, it doesn't matter because our owner's a billionaire.
Yeah.
That's not going to work forever, because if these clubs do go away and become, go into the Super League, the ones that are left are going to really have to rely on our fans and a lot less money. And I think we have to start getting used to that now as football clubs, because there's just far too much money. It's actually scandalous how much money that my club have wasted. It's disgusting in many ways. The absolute dross we've bought, and are still. No, it is though. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. The money we spent and the players that we've let go on free contracts and have earned millions of pounds, and there's been nothing. No one would be bothered. Like when Man United just bought Ronaldo in, there's instant value. Doesn't matter how much you pay him, there's instant value.
Yeah.
But if you bring players in for and you're giving them £150,000 a week, and they barely score and they barely have an assist, and they're not helping sell shirts in the club shop, and they're not getting you on TV more, and they're not getting you into Europe, then what's the point?
Yeah.
And I think more of us as football fans are all starting to we're all starting to realise that now.
Petty, it's the first time I've spoken to someone from one of the bigger clubs in the Premier League actually say that, and it's really refreshing to hear that, because I feel like there's such a sense of entitlement and arrogance amongst the biggest, most traditional clubs in the Premier League, which I see Everton as one of those. So it's very refreshing to hear that, and your compliments for Norwich are very much appreciated indeed. Let's talk about this weekend's game. There's a lot of pressure on this for Norwich, and I really want to hear it from your perspective. Are you worried about a team with zilch points on the board turning up at Goodison, or do you think it'll be a walk in the park for you boys?
No, I am honestly. I'm not sitting here like quaking, but I have been an Everton fan long enough to know that these are the games to be worried about. If Man City were turning up at the weekend and there's no expectations and you've got half a team, you don't care. But it's Norwich; they've got no points. And I remember last time you were in the Premier League, you came and we were in a sort of similar. It was a bit later in the season. We were doing worse, but you came and you beat us 2-0. And a guy who I don't think had ever sort of scored for you, and I think you sold him about 3 weeks later to a third division team in Germany, scored for you. I think it was like your only away win that season. And that's what happens when you don't respect teams. And I think that could happen. You've got absolutely nothing to lose this weekend. And I think, like I said before, we've just been beaten by Villa. We've just been knocked out the League Cup. And fans will think about this game going, oh, God. Now, we've got Manchester United the week after as well. So you're starting to paint the picture of is this where things turn and go negative? Now, hopefully, the players don't think like that, but some fans will. If you take that mentality into a ground and you sit on your hands and you're passive and you let the game unfold in front of you as a fan, these things will happen, because it's a 3 o'clock kickoff. It's Norwich at home. You're supposed to win. They haven't got any points. Next minute you've had a slow start and there's Pucky turning one in off a set piece or something. And they're like the moments in the season for clubs like Everton, I think, that you've got to be very, very careful. So Everton have to have 100% focus on Saturday's game. Try and get rid of all the negatives from the week just gone. Hopefully we'll put out as strong a side as we can. We know we'll have players missing.
Yeah.
And for us, it's about working hard and grinding out a result. And hopefully we do that. But I've watched football long enough to know that's not how football goes. So
do you think it'd be a cagey atmosphere, Ped? Do you think it'd be a cagey atmosphere at Goodison?
I think it depends on how people it's like it's how people walk in. It's how people get there and start thinking and all those conversations before the game. And then the team news I always think's like a big thing. If you've got maybe a couple of surprises in the team, like, oh, you've got so-and-so back, oh, that's a boost. But if you've got one missing, like I say, like if Luca Dima's missing, then you're like, oh no, with another player. And I think that sets the tone, certainly at Everton, because it's like, it's funny because I look at you guys And I always think how positive you are as Norwich fans. It's incredible how positive you are. And it couldn't be any further away than what we experience as being an Evertonian. Honestly, it's like there isn't. I know what you've just said, like about your expectancy, but there is a level of what we expect at our football club, and it never gets met. And we have to share a city with Liverpool, and you're always looking at things negatively because how it's difficult to look at anything anywhere else because the fans are the most important thing about our club, like they are like for any club. And it's you're going into a game like this, and all you're thinking is, "Oh my God, if Norwich beat us, then what happens?" And you blah blah blah. You've turned it back. Good. It's mad. Honest to God, psychologists could write books and books and books about the Everton mindset. So let's just hope for our sake there's a couple of positive names in the lineup that make us go, yeah, we're going to do this today, or we start first 10 minutes with a real energy. Because these are the games that can be very, very passive. You know, the clocks are about to change. It's about to start go dark early and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's
like you're talking into existence, Ped. I absolutely love it. Question on Norwich, if you don't mind, Ped. Honestly, hand on heart, do you think Norwich have got the opportunity, potential, minerals to stay in the Premier League this season?
Not from what I've seen so far. I just don't think. I just don't think you've got enough. Do you know what it is? Right? It's not about having good players. It's about having savvy players. And I like. Do you know? Funny enough, we spoke about this in the last few weeks on a couple of different shows we do. We do like a Premier League show, and I keep on asking the question: is when will Daniel Farke be sacked this season? Because I just keep looking at Norwich going, at what point do Norwich go, this guy here, and I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying, at what point, if you keep on losing, do the owners turn around and go, this fella's never going to do it in the Premier League, and we need someone who is, because we can't keep being that yo-yo club. And I just think that Norwich needs to start signing a couple of players who've got a little bit more nous about playing in the Premier League and who make them hard to beat. And I look at it, when you look at like a couple of other teams that have played in the leagues in the last couple of years, the teams all tend to have a couple of players who just understand the mentality of playing in the Premier League. And I know you've got players left over from the last time, you've got practically a whole squad, but I just think sometimes with Norwich, there's not that switch. Someone needs to like click that switch and change that slight mentality of, we're not going to be pushed around. We're not going to be everyone's favorite team to watch. And, you know, there needs to be, and at some point, Norwich are going to have to get like a little bit nasty. And I just wonder whether Norwich have got the ability, because nothing suggests that you do as a club, because you're a lovely club and you've got a great little ground, they've got great sets of fans. And I just think that at some point you're gonna have to go out and get some players or a manager or a coach or something that makes you a little bit nasty. That people go, because put it this way, at the moment, everyone will want to play Norwich because they'll go, great game of football, they'll be dead open and we should win. Whereas I think it's better if it's like, oh, Norwich, they're horrible. Look at Burnley. Burnley is the prime example. No one wants to play against Burnley because even if they beat you, they leave two of your players injured after the game. And you're already in the mentality of like, oh, I don't want to play Burnley. They're horrible. Norwich, it's like, oh, yes, can't wait. And afterwards, we're going to go for drinks. You know, it's like I think there just needs to be that little bit of like, let's be horrible. Make Norwich horrible. That should be your new slogan.
Mate, honestly, it's so interesting that you should mention that, because it's a debate that's rife amongst the supporters at the moment regarding turning nasty. Are we too naive? Are we too nice? Look, let's move on, because we could talk about Norwich forever. One thing I do have to ask, though, Ped, is you've mentioned the players right at the start of that excellent monologue. If there was one Norwich player that you had to sign, because you probably don't want to sign any at the moment, but if you had to sign one, who would you have? Because you've enjoyed Ben Godfrey, so you've had a good experience with players, right?
I think the one we definitely sign is Max Aarons, because we're desperate for a right back. We did look at him, and I think we were priced out of that. So he would definitely be someone we would look at. And I think, we did look at him and we were interested, but I think the price in the end put us off. But that's fair enough. That's not just prerogative. I've got no problem with clubs putting the prices up. But I also like Todd Cantwell because I think he's got a little bit of an arrogance to him. I think he's got like a little bit of swagger to him, where he is like that player that you have to have an eye on while you're playing against him, because he's not only is a good player, but I think he's got a little bit of devilment in him. And I think, I know there was rumours of him going to Villa after they sold Grealish, but I do think he's got that little bit of something about him that could make him a top player.
Well, mate, he's not even playing at the moment.
Yeah. Well, no, I just see it and I just think he has got that little bit of something that you just look at and think he could be a top player if he got a move. He's got to move maybe up the ladder or got fitted into the team was built around him or something. He's just got that little bit of arrogance that I think he's not just there to make up the numbers. That's the way I've looked at him in the past. He wants to make an impression, and I always find those players are very interesting when they're playing for. We've had them at our club, and then they move on to Manchester United or whoever. In fact, we were getting linked with Richarlison going to Paris Saint-Germain. I mean, that sounds crazy, but if Mbappe had gone, but Richarlison's that kind of player who's like he's got a little bit of devilment in him, and he's got something. It's you always find it's players that the opposition fans don't like. Always tend to be good players, of course.
Yeah.
So,
that is so true. Max and Todd, that's becoming a familiar answer here on the TNC opposition preview. Ped, you touched on it at the start. That win for us last time at Goodison, which I'm hoping is putting fear injected into your bloodstream. It was 2-0 in 2019. We desperately needed a victory. The stat that I've been talking about this week on the TNC podcast was we've of course lost 5 games in a row in this Premier League season. Last time going into the game at Goodison, we hadn't got a result in 7. We'd lost every game bar one draw in the middle to Bournemouth. Any memories from that game? Talk to me. Come on. Tell me why you were so bad, Ped.
We were just horrendous. I'll tell you what, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting conversation about that is we played Southampton away in the game before. I think it was an international break. And we beat them 2-1. And we were all on a bit of a high because it was a very important win. We weren't in the great position. Marco Silva's second season. And it was funny because the channel, we were trying to get Marco Silva to do an interview over that international break. And the Everton were like, yeah, we'll let him interview. And we were like, sound, yeah, can we do it before the Norwich game? Like, no, we haven't got time. It's like, well, this is a great time, really positive time. And I just remember we got beat by Norwich.
And you knew.
And we knew that was it. And I remember getting an email going, no, we can't interview. You can't interview him because of this. And it was like, yeah, we can't interview him because you've sacked him. And it was like, we'd got that interview and we'd got out there how this guy wanted to be the Everton manager and all that. I honestly think it's mad, and I'm not like blowing our own trumpet, but I just think like there would have been a lot more positivity about the guy himself. We got beat and then he was basically sacked, but we had 2 games after that. We had Leicester away and Liverpool away, and we never actually sacked him till after the Liverpool game because no one would come in and be the manager for their first 2 games being Leicester away and Liverpool away. And David Moyes was actually going to take over, and he said no. And because he waited, he missed out, and Carlo Ancelotti got the job. So,
oh my God! Well, there you go. Hopefully, you've got some torrid 90 minutes coming up. Let's talk about. let's get to crunch time now, Ped. Me and you can talk forever, but I want to talk about head to head before we go into the big final question. Over the years, it's in your favour. We've won 18 games. You've won 25, and we've drawn 18 times. So, without further ado, we do it differently on TNC. What is your head saying, score prediction-wise, and what is your heart saying, score prediction-wise?
I'll be honest, my heart and my head are both in sync. I think it should be a tight affair. I think Everton will probably just come out on top, maybe 2-0 or 2-1. If I'm perfectly honest, I do believe that if I was to let my head run away with itself and if it's Everton in its Everton manner, it could get very dark very quickly up there. But I do believe that we should have enough to beat Norwich, because I look at them, I look at your side, and just think, where are the goals going to come from? And I think if we can cope with that, we'll make chances. And I think if we're at home, I think we should make enough chances that we should win the game. And that's not, I mean, listen, that's not arrogance. That's just, I just look at both teams on paper and I just think we should win the game. But we know that's not how football works. We know that. We know anything could happen. So, you know, Ben Godfrey could get very angry in the first 5 minutes and kick Max Aarons because he doesn't follow him on Instagram anymore or something. I don't know. You know, something, who knows? The footballers these days, you know what they're like. Know what they're like. So I'm thinking Everton should win this. And I feel bad for you guys, but, you know, if it's down to us getting 3 points or you getting 3 points, then it's got to be us.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with something different this week, because every TNC opposition preview, I've fallen into the trap of being optimistic and being positive, as I naturally am, saying, this is the week. Well, I'm going to try something different this week. Heart and head, saying this is going to be a torrid game and we're going to lose 2-0. There you go. I'm trying something different, people. Hopefully reverse psychology works. Ped, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on Talk Norwich City today and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Top man. And I'll be on your channel, of course, to share my Norwich City thoughts. Go and subscribe to Toffee TV, #1 Everton channel. And thank you so much, as always, for subscribing and watching all of the Talk Norwich City content. If you've enjoyed this one, do give it a like down below. And as always, give us your thoughts and feelings ahead of the game over on social media. We are at Talk Norwich City. Hopefully, and I pray, next time I speak to you, lovely lot, we'll have 3 points.